So I know probably out of like any video you've ever seen from me, you weren't expecting me to comment on social issues, like what's going on with PewDiePie right now. I kind of have to because the whole thing just doesn't make much sense to me. Let me explain. Um, so a couple days ago, people started really going into PewDiePie more than they ever have before because the dude started going in and making some really anti-Semitic jokes. He'd been doing it for a while, but people were just really starting to, get in on him for it. Due reason because the jokes were anti-Semitic. I mean, that's part one of my issue right there. Even if he intended for them not to be anti-Semitic, if he was just making his fan base laugh, which a lot of people are right, he was probably doing just that. What exactly is the flow of logic that says, okay, I'm going to make an anti-Semitic joke and no one's going to call me on it, and there's no way this won't be a problem, especially for someone with such an incredible amount of prestige and popularity and subscribers as PewDiePie. Like, this guy's up there with the Kardashians. Like, people notice what this guy does all the time. Like, if PewDiePie goes to the bathroom, you bet somebody's reporting on it, and somebody's probably watching it because, people love watching his stuff. The deputy editor of Kotaku, called Patricia Hernandez, who, by the way, is one of the best writers on that site, and y'all need to give her a raise or a promotion or something because I love her Fallout articles. She's phenomenal. Keep up the good work. She came out and said in this article not too long after all this happened, why are we surprised, basically? Because this is sort of how YouTube stars get their fame. People like PewDiePie, who specialize in being outlandish and outrageous and obscene, and that makes people laugh in that same way that Family Guy or American Dad make people laugh. They're part of that whole generation of comedy where you really got to push those issues and make jokes about anything because it's comedy. And there really shouldn't be a comedy without, that's censored. At least that's what they think. But Patricia Hernandez basically came out and said, well, here's the thing. That's how they make their money. That's how they get famous, is they make videos like this. They make things that are outrageous and preposterous and really usually offensive. And their view count just skyrockets. Their subscriber count goes through the roof. They become, sensations overnight. And some of these people just dim and fade away. But, he's made, I don't want to say an enterprise on this because he's not the first, but he's certainly made himself a name in applying some of these things to himself. And the problem with that, here's part two of my issue, is that part two, it doesn't work all the time. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, it's like rolling a nat 20. It's either going to do really well or it's going to roll a nat 1 and the mob burns your house down because you colossally have failed. That's the issue with jokes like that. That's the inherent danger. That's the risk, is that those jokes don't work. And that risk is not one worth taking because, dude, the odds are stacked against you. It's like going into a fight with an alligator with nothing but with like a little paper knife. That's it. Just like a little tiny little cheese knife, a paring knife even, for like the little fancy cheeses they serve at restaurants. That's it. You get in a fight with this thing that hasn't needed to evolve since the late Cretaceous with a paring knife. That's what making a joke like that's like. It's ill-advised, it's stupid, and you're probably going to end up horribly eviscerated for it, which is what he's been doing. Disney has cut PewDiePie off. YouTube has canceled his show. Of course, he's still making videos on his own channel because, that's his thing. And, a lot of YouTubers have come out and said, well, listen, this wasn't cool. Or some of them come out and said, hey, listen, this, needs to stop, or we need to let this go and move on with our lives. And Markiplier, one of probably my favorite YouTuber of all time, right there with him and Jesse Cox, he came out and made this video about respect, where he said he's not going to defend the jokes that PewDiePie made, but that we have to keep respecting people. And to me, the jokes that PewDiePie made aren't in that same heart of respect. Because, again, there are only a few people who find anti-Semitic humor funny. There aren't many who appreciate it for being genuine anti-Semitic humor. Those people being anti-Semites, because, that's kind of their bread and butter. But when you come out with a joke like that and it doesn't land, and all you get is shock laughs, and then you keep doing that and people start eventually calling you out, you can't be surprised when there's a backlash. You can't be surprised when the world all of a sudden looks at you and says, dude, you have to stop. You have to cut this out. This is insane. You can't do it because it's not acceptable. It's not how someone should act. It's not polite. It's not okay. It's rude. It's offensive. And sometimes in comedy, that's the point, is that it's rude and offensive. But that comedy is usually trying to prove a larger point. That comedy is usually out there in the world to prove something that we as society are looking away from. It's shining a light on something we're trying to ignore. Anti-Semitic humor doesn't work that way. And no matter what, you should always call people out on things like this. When someone in your circle of friends makes that joke, you got to tap them on the shoulder and say, dude, not cool. When an official says something about, grabbing someone by the pussy, not cool. If a YouTuber makes a bunch of videos that are anti-Semitic, not freaking cool. Here's the takeaway. Humor like that comes with risk. It's going to attract people to you who you may not necessarily want to be associated with. You may make this joke and you may not be a Nazi. You may not even be an anti-Semite. You made the joke because you genuinely found it funny and you want to make other people laugh with it. But you're going to attract people who are the sort of things that you are trying, or at least saying that you're not. So that's the takeaway for you guys, for anyone watching this, is that when you come out and you start making, the lines of, oh, this is so gay, or don't be a Jew, I don't know, jokes like that, you're attaching yourself to a bunch of really awful stuff in the world. Intent is secondary, always secondary next to action. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. If his intention was to make people laugh, it worked a bit, but a lot of people got pissed off about it. He might have had the best intentions, but it didn't work out. So look at this, learn from this, and don't let this happen again. We can be better. So let's do that.